おレオナ早い。レオナアイバン。アイバン早いの珍しいな。おおカミールも早い。エジカミール。ヤックス結構いいと思うけどな、ここ。リベンジバード。ちょっと AP 濃いけど、これカミール腐ると困るよ。ジャックス対カミールはスキルマッチアップだからな。ジャックスがかなり有利ではあるけど。まあそうだね。T1 得意なチャンピオンがいっぱい出てきたね。ジグス以外。まあ、カミール得意だし、まあ、セジもまあ得意でしょ。で、タリア得意だし、バードも得意。まあもはやジグスも得意ということでいいと思う。ジグスマジパフォーマンスいい。
All right. Well, both fan bases. Chronicler, you didn't want to say it before, but it does feel like desperation, you know, especially because both teams now have gotten a taste of how their team wins and in what manner, and they want more. They are greedy for that world spot. Understandably, they would like their team to go and participate in the World's Championship of 2024.
It's not just that, but it's the fact that this might be the last we see of either roster, right? We've been teasing about the last, final, real, actual, this time, actual last dance. But I feel like this time,
final, last dance.
He's referenced it many times.
He has, yeah.
So,
but I feel like that happened in 2022 as well, which is why there's so many memes
final
around it.
But
obviously, feel like we have
final
now
last English.
I think that KT also had such a magnificent summer last year and then wasn't really able to make it work, had very unlucky draws, then met JDG and just kind of all went downhill from there. On the flip side, this T1 roster has been together, excluding Zeus, since 2021, and talk about Zeus did
ベリル今回またなんかグマイシソロキルしに行こうとしてない？
Gumo was looking around for him, and he's sneaky Leona's hanging out. There is a 8-game losing streak in the regional qualifier alone.
何取ったらソロキルできるんだ？いいか？いいでいけるのか？
Showmaker twice, closer 3 times.
いやでももう経験値数だけだな、多分あの感じ。経験値数ってるだけだこれ。
Yeah, but you see that TP coming down now from Def. This is the sort of adaptation they're doing, the very light swap with the TP down, so you can pick up the big wave. And Def will end up really far ahead in terms of levels. Barrel will soak up a lot of experience here as well to get level 2, but presumably still hasn't been seen.
これでミッドに出てこないのおかしいから。おお。
Okay, nice little force flash from Carrier, BDD already pretty low as the pressure was already on. We saw some slows into rocks being thrown into BDD at level 1. And just the follow-up on that coming out here.
We do see pings on barrels, so Guma is very aware that there's a Leona waiting in that rush.
You have to assume with barrel. I mean, maybe you showed when we went looking bot lane, but you just have to assume with barrel.
Yeah, barrel's always in the brush. BDD, though, already being flashed down. One of the big things that I think is the reason why the Corki has been so high prio is because he has so much early agency. We have seen him really struggle, but his early laning phase often feels like a very strong part of his kit. I want to highlight, actually, that Guma, or that Onoretta was able to start on his own bot side and then immediately make his way into the top half of the jungle, which means that Pioshik right now actually in a really rough spot because he set up the top side and then Ona just walked in and took it, right? And Ivern in particular can have an insanely quick early clear, but he's really relying on the setup. So if he wastes a lot of time in setup, doesn't actually get to cash out in it. Not like he's going to be falling behind when it comes to the camps, but it does take away, I think, one of the biggest strengths of this jungler is what his early clear allows you to do on the map.
Yeah, I mean, he's just so vulnerable to counter jungling because you have to invest the time, wait, and then come back.
Hello.
Well, he somehow messed that up. I don't know.
Yeah, I think he didn't get the first auto off. Yeah. Rough. Even a 2-time world champion can fumble that, so, you know.
With a skin for this exact champion is not a lot of mana here in Perfect. Does have a cookie.
これ行くんだ、パーフェクト。よくなくない？
With the Ivern Q and now taking a bunch of damage as the freeze will come down from a frost. But Pioshik's still making his presence felt. He's got double buff and he's just kind of autoing him down, throwing in some Qs. And yeah, I mean, there is definitely potential setup, especially with all these brushes. Zeus and Owner, they're really desperate to push in that wave, and they will be successful.
Yeah, I think just Perfect's a bit too low, and there are too many minions, so you can go in with the counter-strike, but you ain't gonna like one-shot Zeus Owner, and then the minions
still flash as well.
Yeah, they would just mangle you, so I think trying to protect Perfect, trying to hold the wave as long as possible, but the right decision made there not to commit to something more.
How very unlike KT.
Yes, yes. Interestingly enough.
Suspicious.
We need Barrel just to send it in with an aggressive flash or something.
I'm sure he will. That's
これダメ取りしてくれるんだな。
The lane's in such a rough spot
あ、でも
here.
リコールか BDD どっちみち。
We'll see if Faker actually holds it for longer. BDD just has teleport so he can get back, but it feels like we've constantly seen Carrier just coming mid, trying to pot BDD in an uncomfortable position, and the matchup's already pretty fine for the Talia, but it's really been pushed in Faker's favor here with the extra help.
He's gonna get 6 as well off of this final cannon.
Yeah.
So can now make his way back to base, get a buy-in, and can maybe even hold on to his teleport. We'll have to see what BDD or how fast he's gonna be able to shove in this wave. As not quite enough for the tier 1
Zeus
loss
ティアスキッ
chapter.
プしてる。
Does Faker have?
Yeah. It's a sad inventory for any AP player. Just desperate to try to get that item, but can't. Definitely going to feel much better for Faker in this game
Spike
compared to
早めだね。
last game where he was playing Nasus and basically did nothing and fell behind. Now he's the one in the driver's seat with the help of Carrier.
Those are the components where you really think about every CS you missed, and you're like, if I just hit that CS.
Yeah. Isn't it just like 180 on top of that to finish it? I forget what the combined cost.
I can't remember the exact amount, but it's not much at all.
Yeah. Well, they're trying to set up here for the grubs. And KT Rolster with the Ivern are utilizing that zone control very well. But in goes Barrel. He says, enough of the zone control. I'm just going to put my face in it. And he does do that. And he's probably dead as the knockup comes in. He gets his shield though. Stays alive for a very long period of time, but eventually does go down. First blood goes to Faker. And all going to be thrown out here by Guma, who is level 6.
いいね。
As T1 will look to push them away and take the other
いや、どうなんだレオナのイニシ。
Barrel, you know, just aggressive.
We knew it was on the way.
必要だったか。
It was definitely coming, and
かなり怪しい。 かなり怪しいイニシ。
Specifically, Faker doing so much damage in that extended play, and unfortunately, KD just not really able to follow up with Barrel, follow up on Barrel. And kind of lacking the damage there as well to cut through some of the bulkier members of T1.
Yeah, Deft wasn't there initially, but you're also looking at a Cole Sivir that was level 5. So that's not really going to give you the power that you desperately need. As Guma does have his flash, low on mana, and doesn't have his satchel.
Yeah, he just used it for poke. Here comes Deft, trying to come in, gets the Q down. Guma will flash away, some mines on the ground, but one Q could do it, or just an auto, as Deft is just going to take him down, and Guma does get punished.
There's your lesson. Don't satchel unnecessarily. It's your escape tool, and Guma ends up burning flash and still going down there. And bear in mind, Summoners didn't have to get burnt from the other side. Now, this is that replay before the brushes. Well, the banana brush helping out there, and you see Barrel immediately tries to go for Faker. Faker gets a good flash before he's stunned, and then Barrel is just shredded.
It's your main source of damage is BDD, who's like on the other end of the river. You know, he can see you far in the distance. Very telling as that.
W 切ったらもう逃げらんないね。
He didn't have vision in the brush, and otherwise they'd be like maybe he's trying to knock Deft away so they don't have damage. But if you just knock yourself out and then flash, you're completely fine. So really
諦めても良さそうだったけどな、これ Q 当たったタイミングで。
Get this Sivir back to the to that Essence Reaver rather in a much higher pace than otherwise would be the case. And I think Deft being online is really big for this KT comp. As we see, otherwise I think they might be in some damage struggles if BDD and Perfect are not in a great position.
Yeah, I think one of the things we kind of noticed with the Corki is that he has a decent amount, like, a lot of burst damage, you know, between like the Sheen procs and the Q ult later in the game, but it's not like a Tristana. When you have a Tristana in the late game, it will just constantly pump out damage at every situation. But I think sometimes teams have lent on the Corki as being like a DPS threat, and he really doesn't pump out the numbers as much as something like a Sivir or a Tristana, or even a lot of your traditional AD carries.
消えちゃった。
Owner taking the portal. Want to highlight Perfect in the carry versus carry matchup. Not necessarily one that I think you're supposed to win early. It really is much more about when you get to the later stage of the game, when the counter-strike cooldown becomes very, very low. But right now, really struggling with keeping up in terms of minions. Level down on Zeus as well.
Yeah, the trading patterns as well have been a bit questionable. I'd say he's being very aggressive, trying to push waves in and using his counter-strike, you know, aggressively. And then Zeus just holds on to his hook shot until after that. And he's like, okay, well, you don't have counter-strike, so here I am, I'm in your face, I get an empowered Q. And the Camille is going to love that at this point in time, especially with the Sheen done. As Pyosik is here, and so is Barrel. So
that was really funny from Carrier. He puts the portal down, then just starts recalling. So Perfect's like, okay, who's coming? No one. He's already gone. He's already back to base and running over. But it does kind of put some pressure on Pyosik and Barrel to be here to cover. Now, they will get spotted here, clearing our vision.
Yeah, they're in the vision will come from it. So they just assume Zeus obviously went for the base there. Very interactive lane.
Yeah, Sivir Ziggs. Wow. What a riveting bot lane matchup where they're just left alone and it's just back and forth wave clearing. Now, if you have grubs in 30 seconds, so the team is trying to set up for that. Guma doesn't have TP, but does recall for his Ludens. And Zeus is going bot, also without TP. So if Perfect comes up towards the top side, Depp can stay for one more wave, reset, then TP top, and it could be 5v4 for KT.
Might try to set that up. I mean, they only got the one grub, so trying to get an extra 3 could be pretty huge to deny away from the Ziggs and just get it for your Sivir and your Jax as well in that Supreme late game. Definitely going to want that with some side lane threats. As here we go. Gonna try to come in here. The knockout comes in. There's that TP you guys are talking about it. Now Baker in a really rough spot. He's gonna get Bartle too, but there's really nobody to save him as Barrel takes a bit of damage, but will survive with the help of the Ivern. And this is the exact fight we were talking about for a minute.
誰か絶対ブラストコーン殴った。
that ended up knocking him into multiple members of KT there.
We'll have to identify who hit it. That's always the fun bit of replays like that. But yeah, and the bottle comes through, but it doesn't really help Faker's situation. And now Perfect doesn't even need a TP bot. Just walks down, not even a single play there. So KT getting the better of that. They had kind of done the homework, done the setup, done the lane assignments, and get the kill and the grubs, and don't really lose anything for it.
Yeah, definitely.
一応フォーカス受けた状態の集団戦だったから、まあ勝てそうだなと思って見てたら。
He's, you know, pretty obviously looking to go bot and looking to put pressure on, but maybe just wanted to poke and it was a bit of a mistake. I really want to see the way that the fight kind of opened up, especially with that blast cone as well.
Yeah, that was the big thing. It's just the TP advantage. Zeus was matching depth, as you point out. Barrel, they will know this is really diveable. A lot of sums still available, but Leona has so much CC. Perfect as Counter-Strike as well.
Yeah, the dive a little bit unsure of themselves, so they're just back away.
Camille Sejuani into a Jax. This is what I kind of highlighted in the draft.
2プレイ来るかなと思ったけど、
so
来ねえな。
do anything if you just pop Counter-Strike at the right time. Now, though, we get the replay.
Watch the blast cone.
Yeah, eyes on it. So the root comes in.
いや、これ自分でやってそうだけど、あ、
Oh, Guma!
Faker unraveled ears backwards, and then Guma knocks Faker in. I would say that's some of the roughest anti-synergy we've seen probably since last game with the bottles.
I think it's.
I knew.
It's definitely
I knew
a mistake.
It was coming.
It's definitely a mistake. He's right-clicking to back, and they do not want to take a fight. Pretty obviously.
No.
I don't think they should have postured that far forward, but armor is quite tanky. But
no, Brandon, I think you're wrong. I think Guma hates Faker.
Confirmed.
That's what we saw there.
Yeah, we have the evidence now.
Slow-mo it. You know, do some investigation. We've got it. We've nailed it.
I mean, at the end of the day, yeah, KT, they got the 4 grubs. It's going to be very nice. I feel like that's the biggest thing. Like, you got the kill. That's kind of whatever. I mean, you're feeling good about that as KT, obviously, but getting the 4 grubs and having this threat of the Jax in the side lane potentially is going to be pretty huge.
We're also seeing the fact that Barrel is on Leona allows him to be peak Barrel, which is just going in on every single play. But the Ivern gives you so much additional leeway in how you play out those fights, right? You can engage a lot more aggressively, knowing that between the Redemption as well as the Eclipse and Aftershock, you actually have a lot of powers. We do have Invade for the blue buff here.
And those 2 champs you're mentioning, Leona, Ivern, that was their first 2 picks, right? So they picked them together for this purpose of like, okay, we're going to set up Leona. Obviously, the Q lands, Leona goes in, then she can land her E onto other people. It's really nice.
ドラゴンスタックにフォーカス切り替えたいね。
reliable and safe, even if you do pull a barrel, which he's barrel, so he will.
It does happen a lot.
Yeah. I think also, you know, the durability from Leona's W Aftershock really amplifying the shields from Ivan. You know, we see Leona being one of these supports who feels so tanky in the front line, but it's emphasized so much more.
Oh.
Kind of expected with those two early dragons being sort of lower value ones, so you get a high value soul.
Yeah,
but it being Hex Tech as well, with so much ease to proc it for both sides, definitely going to be a priority going forwards in this game. And T1 feeling good about the fact that they've already secured two.
That has been happening very consistently. I think all three games T1 have gotten the first two Drakes, right? And have threatened the soul relatively early on. As we're looking for the Rift Heralds here, there is vision. Bunch of pings coming in. And especially with the Hex Gates, potential for KT to try to come over and contest it, but it doesn't look like they will.
I don't think they should. Right now, still have two unfinished Triforces on the team. I think so much of the power of both the Jax and the Corki is going to come from actually getting that. Harold is just going to get taken here. Not too surprising. Perfect, again, struggling, I think, pretty consistently in terms of CSing in this series, but Jax is one of those picks where as long as you don't counter-strike too aggressively, you are just able to, just by deterrent, stay in the side lane and match up relatively well. But Zeus is definitely benefiting from slowly building up the CS lead, having the item lead as well.
You see moments like this where Perfect presumably recalling for the Triforce,
yeah,
which is obviously a big spike, but we get Zeus freezing the wave in return. So now, you know, Perfect perhaps go down and break the freeze, but he's missing out.
Oh?
Looks like they knew he was in the brush. Kind of awkward for him, as now there is definitely a lot of pressure with Sejuani, Camille, even a Bard set up that they might be able to catch up BDD in a future play.
He wouldn't even step to the turret, so this should just go down. We see on the other side, KT trying to counteract that.
バードいるけどどうする？バードだったらまあ一応ウルト見てるバード。でもステイしてること自体がわけがわかんないからやめたな。賢い。がやらんとそれはそれでマイナスどうする？
T1 not even using the Herald, right? Just getting a topside turret. I imagine just saving it for mid and then allowing the Ziggs to saturate down so that you get the additional map control.
I think particularly when one team has a Ziggs and the other has a Sivir, the challenge of taking mid-tier 1 is amplified so much that really the Herald you want to be thrown down there. Otherwise you're just not going to get a window to take the tower for such a long time. And both of those picks are just situated there, one-shotting waves against each other.
It's very fun. I'm a big fan of wave 15 personally in this matchup, where you clear the wave again for the 15th time in a row.
Oh,
very
right,
fun.
yeah.
Very interactive.
Wave 17 is also pretty fun, but I like wave 15
So
personally.
I know this is a controversial question. What's your opinion on wave 19?
You know, I know
that you would bring that up.
Yeah.
Well, it's a bit of a downtime. Hold that thought.
There's the Bard. There is the setup. And that's really what this Bard is for. It's going to get another flash in this one. And especially with Hex Tech Soul and the fact that T1 have the first two Drakes, every single Drake is super important, and already KT are down 2 flashes.
Yeah, especially the flash on BDD, definitely one they could look to punish. In an ideal circumstance,
次のファイトすごいやりやすそうだな。フラッシュ2ダウンか。
potentially Faker as well. So see if they can set up for those angles. Also, look at the items. Already 2 items on Guma with the Ludens and the Horizon Focus. A lot of burst there. But the thing is as well, you know, the setup for the team, you really need Zeus to be on a good angle here, because carry, we've seen in the last one, the Bard ult into Ziggs ult doesn't work that well, especially into a Sivir who can just spell shield it, or a Corki who can dash away. You kind of need Zeus to be up there, so the spell shield can't just immediately come in to counteract.
See Carrier just flying around the rift. They do have the 1 Cloud Drake, but also, well, he's Bard, so he is quite literally just hoverboarding around the rift, and he's able to stop the back of Deft. Kind of an awkward time. We still do have the Hex Tech Gate, so he will be here for any fight that does break out.
And now Navori done for Deft. That's a big trident power spike. I think you're really looking for KT to get Second
でも
item
ミッドローテしたいけどな、ジグス使って。W 切れば、まあ、タワー折れるだろ、これ。
now has already hit his. From that point on,
一旦ポークか。
these fights are going to be feeling a lot better for KT. Owner, cheeky steal there, blue buff. Not going to be feeling too bad. And we do have a significant amount of vision control here in the KT jungle for T1, which is ideal because, again, I think you want to try and have Zayas come in from an angle and hook shot straight into the backline. Because if KT gets a kite back with Sivir and Ivern, you might be in some trouble.
Yeah, this ward on the blue buff is really big as a TP threat angle.
さすがに今じゃない。
And if Zayas can push his wave in, back away, then he can
あ、でもポジション取れたからドラ優先する？
Do you see the control though in favor of T1?
ポーク優先だね。
Six bombs coming through, TP's going to come out from the Corki, and KT, I presume, are going to try and look to just push in and establish some control, but that sets up the bait with the TP. Zayas just recalling, the angle is there.
もうファイト見てるのか。エラルド
No flash for BDD, no
まあまあまあまあ、今なんだ。ボット押し上げたから。カミールも来て。
Dropped in mid as Guma will sit here, try to clear the waves and pressure that one. Meanwhile, Faker's on the bottom side has a nice angle for a wall. If a fight does
乗らないと
break
タック
out,
ルできる。
really trying to
あ、ダブル来
push
た。
in the
ま
Rift Heralds. Looks like it will get a charge.
あー、じゃあドラゴンスタート。
They don't start the Drake at the
あ、で
same
もどっ
time
ちみ
as
ち
the
かこれ。
charge as Faker's
まあで
just
も
gonna
ボッ
say,
ト支
well,
持
they're
でき
all
て
in
る。
mid, so I'm just gonna take this bot
お
turret.
もろいな。
Yep, good angle found there. Perfect moving over to cover, but a lot of
使えるだけ
poke
プレッ
coming
シャー
down
を
on
使うんだな。
KT. They do have a redemption to kind of mitigate all the poke just before the fight, but you can see
うまいな。
Death about half HP already now.
ボトまた押し上げた。
Just waiting for the engage from the side of
いいね、ウ
T1.
ェーブの
There it
お
is.
ーでエンゲージ
Straight in the
ラデフラッシュない
doesn't have
で
it,
CC
but
食らって
he has
W
actually a
わ
stop watch and he
あ
will
うわ
be
なんかシビア死ん
going
だ
down. That's a kill
わ
already
お
on the depth as Zeus just got in and murdered him.
わお
As that is 3 to
バロン
the
だ
side of T1 and they will
リーン
take it down.
Complete denial of the attempted front to back there from KT by T1. Coming in from multiple different angles, immediately getting on top of one of their most valuable members, Impioshik, who doesn't have the flash from that earlier play. Turned that into a satchel mid, and now T1 starting up Nash, and I don't think there's anything that KT can do against this.
Tick all the boxes for what they need, and it was all about Zayas finding a good angle here. The ult comes into Yoshik, but I think the timing, yeah.
あー、シビアどうだったんだ。
Yeah, I was like, again, I got baited like Wolf and Atlas didn't get game number 2. I'm like, that's definitely a stopwatch, and then I'm like, wait, why does Cyber have stopwatch? No. It didn't end up mattering, though. They did still kill him.
A big thing is the redemption didn't come down because Yoshik was in stasis. Death didn't get topped up. He was already half HP thanks to Guma's poke, so it was so easy for Zayas just to fly in there and finish him off.
正味 KT ドラギブしてバロンプレッシャー出すのが一番良さそうだったけどね。
allowed the rest of KT to kind of collapse. This time there was a Tully elbow in place, and Zayas was on the back line taking
ポジションを取れるようなドラじゃなさそうだった。
So didn't end up backfiring in the same way.
That felt like one of those
ヘラルドが出ちゃってサイドのコントロールなくて。
What is going on here? Yoshik's like, I'm gonna take the blue buff. It looks like Zeus is going to just back away, and they will respect it. As the Corki was coming in, they didn't have full vision, but man, I thought he was in a lot of trouble.
Did he not get the blue buff? You know,
blue buff.
Mission successful. Didn't even ban flash for it.
It's telling though that like this dragon is just going to go over to T1. They're going to get the inner. I don't think KT's going to be in a position to contest.
But KT got the objective bounty.
Yeah, that is very true, Veldas.
Yeah, it's really T1 getting the most value. They won that team fight. They knew they could go Baron immediately. Getting the value from the Baron, taking so much in terms of structures, and then moving over to secure the dragon after. It is going to slow down the soul, but it's allowed them to balloon this massive gold lead that really has put them ahead in this one. 6,000 right now between the two teams.
この試合はね、後期ね、ちょっとピックとしては合ってないんだよな。これ、とりあえず出た後期シリーズ。また、とりあえず出たシリーズの後期が負けるのか。
It really was kind of on a knife's edge in this one. T1 were ahead and they were getting little advantages, but then really, that was kind of a back-breaking fight.
I'm not feeling good about the Corki loss streak getting broken in this one, gentlemen. Want to highlight as well, the very early death stance here from Zayas actually gets so much value, right? Between Grasp and just Resolve 3 in general, you're already going to be pretty beefy as the Camille, sitting on a level lead, and then adding a death stance into a full AD team. A lot of value.
Area doesn't have magical journey, actually. He's going to throw an ult in, and he gets a Valkyrie.
Yeah.
Not going to land this time.
still not sold in the bard value this game. You know,
まあでもフェイカーのピック潰したかったんだろうなって感じがする、この後期は完全に。そしたらなんか変なタリアが出てきた。世界から忘れられた明治たちが出てきた。
Those W's so you can get some health back, and the team are going to continue the pressure. 15 seconds on the Baron, so basically one wave to try and crash in and get this, and they'll use the wall to do so.
The ult's going to be thrown towards Leo.
わお、逆にエンゲージ。
Okay, I'm going in, and he's dead.
NT.
Now we're going to have people trying to get close, and that's the issue with the Sivir.
逆にエンゲージナイストライ。
But he has to get so close to the fire, and T1 so far ahead at this point, and now with both Deft and Barrel gone, looks like T1 are looking to take an even bigger chunk out of this game 3.
Not a lot to be done here. Zeus just able to hook shot with impunity. I say that.
Got the ultimate. I mean, he's just going to use it here on the Jax. He's just frontlining. Even if he went down, this is a good trade. NG's still alive, still getting hook shots in, still getting stunts down. And T1 just biting off even more. Now, they're not going to get the inhibitor turret, which they probably should have gotten instead, but at least they got a couple of kills, I guess.
The thing is, they're so far ahead now. They're going to back off and spend.
まあこれはね、5対3
so
だから
much
ね。
powerful. You can see, look at Faker and Guma's inventory, both of them just a little bit of gold away from Rabadon's being completed. They're super far ahead. It's a Hextech Soul coming up, and it's going to be so hard for KD to fight back now. The ult misses on Barrel, but he kind of goes, well, if I'm in, I'm in. And the turnaround attempt on Ona doesn't really work. You can see Death tries to follow up and just gets deleted.
フォローアップできる未来あったのかな。 F してなくても死んでなさそうだけど、正直。
Says does a good job of stalling, and we also see again like the physical damage shield that you get plus the death dance. It's so hard to chew through this Camille, especially with the backup damage that is there from the rest of T1. And looks like T1 about to take a 2-1 lead here in this one, barring a crazy comeback from KT. But compared to the last game, where it was very obvious what that was going to be, right, which is like a big impale on top of an ultimate from BDD and or the Rumble, I don't really feel like any of that is here. Like particularly with these
ジグス対策でシビアしたかったら、俺の上でミッドにヨネがいる。このメレーで張り付くやつが必要なんだよね。じゃないとシビアのウルトをうまく使えない。
Camille and Talia.
They can just see a target, kill a target. You know, Guma's level 16. If Zeus ults
シナジーの問題だから、ここら辺って全部。
T1 follow up, they're just dead. And it's a minute 40 till Dragon. The pressure isn't on T1. They are trying to apply pressure to KT. But if they just wait for Hextech Soul, that is just, I mean, the game already feels very rough for KT. But Hextech Soul is just nail in the coffin.
Yeah, it's the final one. It's before they, you know, send it down.
Maybe some extra ones, like, you know, they already had it covered, and they're like, you know what, just for good measure, you know, in case.
Just in case, you never know, yeah. I mean, it's kind of incredible. You were talking about the items and the fact that they were going to go spend. Both of the AP carries on the side of 2-1 pick up their death caps, and Faker gets a little bonus rod. And he's like, all right, I'm just going full AP. I already have Void Staff. People are dying. And he's a real threat as well. Generally, it's, you know, just the Zags and you've got an 80 carry, but actually the amount of burst damage they have is just ridiculous.
There's also just no MR on the side of KT apart from like the Merc treads and the Corki.
Yeah,
how could you forget the Merc tread?
Have to mention it.
Little engage here from Barrel, but at the end of the day, he uses his satchel defensively, and Barrel's dead. And the timing this time with the Bard is
シビアが毎回前についてって全ての CC を食らってる。
Pretty close to the sun, and now it's Zeus who does take that magical journey in and is looking to end this game. I see one a little bit low on the health bars, but there's the knock up, the stun onto Perfect. He's got a flash away. Zeus is not going to let them get away at this point in time. Depth's desperate to try to do something, but he will be taken down. And so will BDD. So those two short-range carries will be taken out of the game, and T1 will look to end it.
And the imminent end, possibly to the last dance, can be felt as this.
T1 のこの構成に勝てないとブルーは勝てない。あれ赤は勝てるかもしれない、バンピックで。でもブルーはこのバンピックを咎める方法がないから、だってファーストバンフェーズでカミールバーしないといけない、これだって。あとはジグスバン。じゃあ何開けるって話になってくる。アジルでも、ジグスオープンのバイオープンで、ジグスファーストピックで返しが なんか MF リリアとかで、いや、ブルーのバンピックはね、もうかなりきつい、これ。